Well, it's 10 o'clock and I'd be happy to get going here on our 1711 Technical Services Upgrade webinar. I'm currently sharing my screen, and if this is your first time coming to these upgrade webinars, welcome. I appreciate your time. I am sharing the Bywater website to the page that is going to be used for a lot of the upgrade webinar information. I will also put that in the chat for everyone to be able to see. Okay, perfect. George, there's a message in the chat for you. This is going to be a great place, a great landing place for partners to come to and find out. You can also see the release notes. You can see any other webinars that are upcoming, as well as any recorded webinars that have been posted to the website. So we did have a What's New webinar that was an overall vision of what the 1711 was bringing to Koha on Monday. And that was a little over an hour, and I have that video already posted on the website for you. We had our first OPAC and public user webinar yesterday, and I will get that video up hopefully by the end of the day, if not by the end of the week, all the webinars that we conduct through this week. I appreciate everyone's time as you come, and if you have time during the next week and a half, you can see we do have 2 webinars per module scheduled, and you would just go ahead and click that registration link. Great. Just a little bit about our Zoom. We do not have the audio turned on for our attendees, but we have 2 different ways that you can communicate with us. We do have the Q&A box, which is a great way to post your questions to Bywater staff members, and they will either be able to answer you live, ask me to answer you live, or type back an answer to you. Once again, everyone can actually use this question and answer box, as well as we have a chat box. The chat box does have the ability to send chat messages directly to just the presenters or to everybody. So sometimes I have to repeat the question because not everyone can see those questions. But both ways are great ways to get in touch with us. Today I am joined by 2 other educators with Bywater. I have both Andrew and Donna here with me, and so they can say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And my name is Kelly. I'll be with you for the next probably 45 minutes or so as we talk about technical services and the changes that are coming, which are all fabulous. I hope you think so too. Without any further ado, I'm going to jump right in. Oh, I did actually, I'm sure this is a burning question on everybody's mind. When will you be upgraded? Bywater, we will start the 1711 upgrades in early June, and they will continue throughout the month. Per usual, all upgrades will start after 8 o'clock your local time. That notice will populate on your staff client to let you know of your upgrade date, and that usually will appear on your staff client about a week prior. And they make it nice and bold, big red square around the notice. It's just really important to remember to clear your cache after that upgrade has happened, so you have full functionality of Koha. Okay, great. Okay, we are going to jump right into cataloging because that's my background. So this is very exciting for me to share our technical services area. The first new enhancement brought to you by Koha in 1711 is the ability to add the MARC organizational code on a branch level. So prior to 1711, the MARC organizational code was determined for the entire system. It was a global system preference. We do have multiple consortiums with our company, and probably Koha has all over the world. And there are libraries that would like to have their own MARC organizational code on their records, and they'd probably not like to have to manually add those in every time they catalog a record. So now this brings the ability to do it per branch, and I'm going to show you how to set that up. I'm going to pause for a sec because I do have a question. I'm having a weird echo issue. I apologize. I have a question asking about the time for upgrades. There was talk before the last upgrade about finding out times when libraries cannot do their upgrade, vacations, etc. Is that in the plan? Peggy, I'm not sure. I believe that we do try to work with all libraries as we go through this upgrade process. I can certainly get some information and send that to you. Okay. So, like I was saying, prior to the 1711, your library would set the global system preference for MARC organizational code in that system preference MARC org code. That system preference is still in your Koha system. I'm going to go over to the Koha administration. I'm going to type in that MARC org code. And you can see here, you can fill this in. Now, this is a default. So if there are libraries in your maybe branch system that have a specific MARC organizational code, I'll show you where they can set it up. If there are other libraries in your branch system that do not have their own and would like to use the collaborative MARC organizational code, this will be used. So I'm going to go over. This is set up in your libraries and groups. I got real imaginative when I set my own MARC organizational code. As you can see, there it is, my name. So there is a new field in the libraries and group called MARC organizational code. So again, if you do have one of those codes that you'd like to add to your records, you would go ahead and add it here. If that is not filled out, then the Koha would go with what is in the system preference MARC organizational code. So as you catalog an item within the system, that will pre-populate in the 003 field. This organizational code will also appear in your authority records. This will only appear if your system preferences are set for auto create authorities, and you would want to generate those auto create authorities, as well as your biblio add authorities is set to allow. So this is another section that you could have this code added to your authorities if you did have those system preferences set. And again, that is auto create authorities to generate and biblio add authorities to allow. Let me just pop over there. Oh, I'm glad, Georgie, you like this. This is great for all those big multi-branch systems. I do want to say that you can raise your hand within the webinar, but since you can't talk, it might be easier just to use the chat or the Q&A box. So you have this auto create authorities is set to generate, and the biblio adds authorities are set to allow. Okay, great. Now we have the ability, and this is probably helpful for all those international libraries. I don't know how many are represented here today, but prior to the 1711 release, the country code of the 008 field in the range of 15 to 17 was always hard-coded to have the value be the United States. And now there is the ability to add a different country code for all those international libraries. So you would go ahead and go into your global system preferences, and it would either be found in that cataloging tab over here, or it is called record structure. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm spelling something wrong. Where is it? Oh, it's right here, sorry. It's not called record structure, it's called default country field 008. So right now, if this is left blank, it will stay to the United States. I'm filling in that 008 tag in your mark record. If you needed to add a different country, you can now do so. Sorry about that. That's under the option of record structure and cataloging. However, it is called default country field 008. Maybe we can have a set of hands if anyone would use this. I'm not sure if anyone's here that would use it, but it's good to have that flexibility. What I just love about Koha is all the ability to customize so many things. So this was originally hard-coded and now it can be customized. So I like that. Okay. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to go over to actually the cataloging module and show you some new kind of features and enhancements that will be now visible when you are in the cataloging module. I'm going to start with the advanced editor, because within the advanced editor, there are now what Koha is calling helpers for both the 006 and the 007 field, which is awesome. I mean, I know that there's a lot of catalogers out there that use the advanced editor. So this is amazing that we're able to get these helpers out to you. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my advanced editor. I'm going to go grab a title. My Z39.50. This doesn't even have zeros. So now I have this 006 and I have this ability to go ahead and have these helpers added in. And I also have the 007, which is amazing. And I know a lot of libraries have to toggle between the basic and then the advanced before, because they didn't actually have that information. So now you have that ability to go ahead and use these a little bit more easily in the advanced editor. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and save this to the catalog. I'm going to go ahead and view. There is a new feature, and I'm really excited about this ability, is you now have, Jason says thank you for the 006 and the 007. I know, it's great. That advanced editor is just getting better and better with every release. When I go ahead and add items to one of my records within the system, I have a few more options, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill this out as we go. Give it an item type. As soon as I hit add item, you know that that always appears at the very top of a little summary here. Underneath this actions, I now have the ability to print the label. Now, this could be a spine label. This could be a barcode. As you can see, I have auto barcode set up. If I go to print label, it is actually going to bring me to the label tool, as well as add this item to a batch. So I can then, when I have the item, I could go ahead and choose which label I needed using which template and layout. So this is amazing. This is just, you know, this is outside that realm of that quick spine print. This is actually using that tool, the label creator, which is I know a lot of libraries use. And then you could go ahead and say, yep, print the barcode or print the spine label. Beth loves it. Hey, Beth. I know, this is amazing. I love it. Okay, another feature which is also great is the ability for the 776 field to display in both the OPAC and the staff. Now the 776 field is the additional physical format representation in the mark field. So now you have the ability to link both an audiobook to a book or book to a large print book. And that is now visible and easily toggleable. Is toggleable a word? Probably not, as I'm butchering it. Oops, it looks like I have a question. Was that about this or?
Yeah, it's George wants to know, how does this feature decide the batch? Does it always open the same one, or does it always open a new one?
George, upon my investigation, it would appear it's always going to create a new one. I think a nice feature would be as you like click it, add to a batch, click it, add to a batch, to the same batch. But when I did attempt that, because I did have that question as well, it just goes to a different batch, unfortunately. And unfortunately, but it still is, I think it's still amazing. Okay, so you can see here, I did just a search within my catalog, and I have both an audiobook and I have a book. Now, with this new enhancement, I have the ability to actually have the 776 field displayed. So here is my 776 field, additional physical formats, and this title is linkable. So I am in the audiobook, and if I click over to that title, I will be brought to the book. Now, for all those catalogers, I will show you how you can do this. There is a little work for you on the back end, but again, I think this is a really great enhancement. You would first actually need to make sure that your framework is set up to show and be editable that 776 fields. So I'm going to pop over into the Mark bibliographic framework. The important fields for this is the subfield T and the subfield W. Rhonda, that's a really good question. Rhonda's asking, would it be possible to name the specific format in the public view?
Now, and actually, yes, you can, because you're able to type in the title. So you can go ahead and type in whatever you want for that title. So it could be Dear Fahrenheit, parentheses, large print, and that's what would show. Kelly's going to show you the field in just a second, and it'll make sense when you see it.
Now, unfortunately, that's not the best way to catalog. I wonder if the H will show, because that's the medium. And if the medium showed, that would probably be a 245H would be a great feature. I don't know if a lot of libraries put the type of book in the A. Do you know what I'm saying, Donna?
Yeah, I haven't had success with that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so I have I'm going to go to the 776T, and I'm going to go into the advanced constraints. And so you can see I have it visible in the OPAC, the staff, and it's editable. And then I have the W. The T is going to be where the title appears, and the W is where you're going to link the two books using the 001. So again, you can see it's visible through the OPAC, the internet, and the editor. Perfect. Now, that was the framework. So I'm going to actually go back to that record. I'm going to go into the first one. Yeah, because it doesn't appear it's showing even the remainder of the title in this. Okay, so I'm going to go and edit this record. I'm going to switch over to Basic because that's my preferred editor. Okay. So you're saying maybe do it here, Donna?
Yes, that's a free text field, so you can actually put anything you wanted in there.
Okay. Okay. So it's not pulling from any 245A. It's whatever you fill into this T subfield. So yeah, you could do that, Rhonda. So let's go ahead and test that. So you can see I have the title. And then I also am using the 001 record control number of the book I want to link to. So this would be the record control number of the actual book. So let's go ahead and save that and see what happens. This is a great question, Rhonda. I thought it would have grabbed from the 245. So this is free text. We love free text. There you go. It does. Awesome. Thanks, Donna. We just had a question from Lois. When you delete a record, such as an audio, do you have to correct the book record, or does the link automatically delete? I don't actually think the link will automatically delete, but there won't be the link won't bring you anywhere because that record number will be gone. Should we give it a try? I'm hearing heck yeah. I'm hearing let's try it. Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm going to go into the book. I'm going to go ahead and delete the item. Now my indexer, unfortunately, maybe we'll have to check it at the end. My indexer does not run as fast as yours does because I'm just on a little test site. So it may take a few minutes for all this to catch up. But I am going to go ahead and delete the actual book record. Now, let me refresh. We may have to come back, but let's see what happens. Okay. As we're watching, see, it still doesn't process that I've deleted it. As we're watching this go through, I do want to say that the demo site on the Bywater website has been updated to the 1711 version. So if you did want to play around with this after we leave today and you wanted to try some things out, the demo site on the Bywater website is actually up to the 1711 version. So you can go ahead and do a little hands-on activity with that. So it looks like, and I want to come back later, it looks like you would need to remove that link so it doesn't appear to have a dead link. So let's go ahead and open this in the OPAC and see what happens. Okay. So I'm in the audio and we got rid of the print. Yeah. So you would probably need to make sure you're editing your MARC record if you do decide to get run of one version versus the other, so your patrons or staff don't get kind of this this message. Yep, the demo is just on our regular Bywater website page. So if I go to home, let me do this. I'll put that in for everybody. There you go, David. So here it is. There's two links. You have the OPAC and you have the staff, and then it tells you the username and password. Perfect. But great question. I love when people start kind of seeing the big picture and how this is going to affect your workflow. So that's awesome. Thanks for the questions. I do have a question from Debbie. Let me see 1024. It was just now. Okay, it seems that this may not be useful in consortiums. If you're sharing records, it could still be useful, Debbie, I think. And maybe George could jump in if he's thinking about using this as well. But what it really is getting the ability is to find a different version of the format. And yes, if the patron uses that field and clicks it and realizes that their library doesn't have another format, then unfortunately, but If they did, then it gets your patron to another format, such as large print or audio, when they don't have the book in. So yeah, I can see both sides to the situation in multiple branch systems.
And then Kelly, Peggy also said you could probably create a report that you run periodically to check and see if any of the 776 tags reference records that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, absolutely, Peggy. Absolutely. That's a great idea. Love it. Okay. There isn't. As I'm processing here, there is a message from George. I see this as a huge step forward. It would be nice to find a way to automate the process of creating the 776 links. Absolutely. Yep. I agree too. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to go over to the acquisitions module. Another question. We do have another question about this. I love you guys. This is amazing. Is there a way to automate this with an index where it checks the index for the control record number first before outputting in the OPAC? So, Thomas, are you referring to when we delete an item that may have been linked prior? Is there a way to automate this with an index? Oh, okay. When loading records from OCLC, they may have multiple 776s already. I'm not sure. That's something we can certainly look at. You're welcome. Okay. Now we're going to go over to the acquisition module. And this one is a huge one, or for any acquisition librarians in the room. Prior to the 1711 release, there was the ability to set when Koha would create the item during the acquisition workflow. So you could tell Koha through the system preference, create item here, that you would like it to create the item when it catalogs the record, when you place the order in the acquisition, or when you receive it. Now, this system preference is still here, and this will be considered the default. When you are in the acquisition module and you go ahead and open a basket, you can now determine that system preference per basket. So I'm in my acquisition module. I'm going to create a basket within Koha. And as soon as I create a basket, there is a new question at the bottom of this box. It says create items when. So it will default to what I have as a system preference, which is currently placing an order. However, for whatever reason, if I needed to change this because of a specific workflow that happens with a specific item type or a specific file, I can certainly go ahead and do that. And now I can choose, in this case, in this basket, I would like Koha to create the items when I'm receiving the order instead. So this gives you so much more flexibility. I know libraries probably went in and changed that system preference multiple times depending on what was going on. And then you have to remember to go change it back so you didn't upset anyone else's workflow. But now you can do this on a per basket feature. So this is a great new 1711 enhancement. Okay. I talked about this yesterday. There is now the ability to add quantity to purchase suggestions, and this does kind of tie into what my acquisitions librarians here as you go through maybe ordering purchase suggestions for your library. There is now a new field if your library decides to have purchase suggestions. If a patron makes a purchase suggestion on the OPAC, see if I can make a purchase. Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah, red platoon. I love to see what's in my, what will just populate in there. I now have this field for quantity, so I can go ahead and say I'd like to order 5 of these, or I would like the library to have 5 of these. We actually had a question yesterday about this reason for suggestion. So this is something you can have filled out. And then book club. So once your patron makes a purchase suggestion from the OPAC, if your library allows it, it will show up in the general place for purchase suggestions down here at the bottom. And now the quantity can be found in the actual, I have to click the title, which is going to bring me more to the, what I call acquisition portion of it, because I can see that acquisition and I can see the copy number. So that is something that would be allowed. If you allow purchase suggestion, they could put a number in there. And for your acquisition folks, they can actually see the number of copies that were requested. Debbie, I think that we'll probably need to see if there is some jQuery that we could hide the quantity if a library didn't want to have that seen. There is a bug that is out within the community that asks for purchase suggestion form to be more customizable. So that would be probably the preferential way to do it. But while this is something that's new and you don't want it, we did talk about this. Yeah, I think it's something we may need to use a little JavaScript to hide that. So I wonder if we could have that, put that maybe on the website somewhere with our notes from these webinars for something you can add. Good questions. I love them. Okay. I'm now going to go over to my serials. There's only really one enhancement with the serials, and then I'll go into some tools. Thanks, George. George put it in, and I'll also put that on the website as something that was talked about. George just put in the code, and that would be put into your system preference for the OPAC user JS. Lois is asking, is audiobook still default for item type? In the purchase suggestion area, Lois, you can actually, you can actually allow your patrons, if you want, to choose the way they would like the item. So whether that's an audiobook, book, DVD, ebook. So it's the drop-down menu goes in alphabetical order. So that is why the audiobook is first. If something like audiobook is not something you'd ever purchase or have take a purchase suggestion, you can remove this. This drop-down menu is an authorized value within Koha, and you can edit what is here through those authorized values, and I can show you that. So if I go into my Koha administration and go into my authorized values, and this is suggest format here. The category is called suggest format. So I wonder if you did want to keep an audiobook. I believe if you maybe changed what this looked like, maybe put a Z, it's just going to populate alphabetically. So that is why audiobook is showing up first and what maybe you're thinking is the default. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, now I'm going to show you what the new enhancements is for serials. Now you can actually see if you had more than one subscription attached to a serial, you can actually see the frequency and the numbering pattern when you look at your serial collections. So I actually didn't know this wasn't something you could see prior to 1711, but I think for libraries that really use the serials module, this will be a huge enhancement now that this is available. So I don't have many serials, so I'll just go ahead and hit submit. Okay. I'm going to go into one of my serials. So now I have this serial collection over here, and if I click this, I can see all the serial subscriptions attached to this biblio. I think I have to click this. Prior to the 1711 update, these two columns were actually blank. They showed like this. They would show the subscription summary. However, neither the frequency nor the numbering pattern would display in the summary. So now this is the ability to actually see that frequency and the numbering pattern of your summaries. I think this is great because I could actually, if I were to add a subscription for another branch, I could come in here and see what their frequency and numbering pattern is before I start. And this was a sponsored development by Catalyst, but I think it's a great new feature that allows you, especially for those libraries that have multiple subscriptions attached to a bib record, to a serial, you can actually see that frequency and numbering pattern. But I did actually have to go into the old system and see how it looked. I don't know. I have a couple more chats, and again, these chats can't be seen by everybody, so I'm going to read them aloud. Peggy is telling everybody, but specifically probably to Lois, that if you add a space in front of the value, that changes the order. So if you were to put a space in front of audiobook, it will reorder it. Or another partner is saying that they gave their audiobooks a description of book on CD, and then it comes after the book. Awesome. I like that, Barbara. That's a great idea. I was like, Z, but you made more sense in your idea. This is awesome. I love everybody's helpfulness. This is great. Okay. We do have some more tools that some tools within Koha that I think are that pertain to the technical services section of Koha, and I want to go over those. We actually have a ability to see plugins by class and by type, and I don't know if there's a lot of libraries out there using the plugins that are available within Koha, but prior to this release, the tools plugins, depending on what screen you were on, might not show you all the plugins that are available. So now they actually have plugins to be able to view them all through this new button, that I can actually see all the plugins available in my Koha system, not ones that are maybe more specific to tools, which, as you could see on my first screen, I couldn't see any at all. Plugins you can get to in two different locations. So if I went through the tools module, if I go through the administration module and hit manage plugins, I would actually be able to see the plugins that are considered through the administration module. So there's just a couple different ways. And since there are a couple different ways and you can see different ones from each way, it's very unlike Koha. They're now allowing you to see both ways. Love it. I love it. Multiple ways to do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to pop back over to my tools. And I'm going to go over some of the tools in the catalog portion, as well as patrons and Circ, which may or may not appeal to you, but I think a lot of technical services do a lot of different things. We have a new feature with our import patrons. Now when you import patrons within Koha, you can actually allow have Koha create a list of those patrons you're importing. So if you go ahead, and I always think of an academic when I think of this, I'm going to import my freshman class, and then Koha will say, would you like me to make this a list for you? So then I have my freshman class as a patron list and the ability to maybe batch modify those come their senior year, and they have an extended expiration date than everybody else. So yeah, George is saying it's a great new feature. Yep. So if you go ahead and choose a file that you want to import, it will go ahead and give that patron list the file name and a timestamp, but I can say that you can certainly change that if you wanted to. So here I am. You can see I have one here that does actually, so this was my, oops, I clicked it on accident. This was my import that I did just to make sure it was working. And you can see all the patrons that are within this patron list. And this is another new feature within the patron lists. Before 1711, this actually just said edit here, and now we have an action button which allows you to do multiple things if you wanted to, and I also could go ahead and edit the list, but it's giving me more options from here. And then I could go ahead and say this list is new students. So I can again change the file name or the patron list after I import it. So I love that. Okay, now I'm going to stay on lists because I'm actually going to show you a patron batch modification tool that has been improved. If I needed to batch modify a group of patrons, I now can actually change the patron's home library with batch modification. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those new students from my list and go into my batch patron modification, and now I have the ability to change the patron's home library, which is awesome. I love that. Okay, great. I'm going to go back to my main screen, and I'm going to just show you two things in lists. I know a lot of libraries use that public list feature within Koha, and there's a couple new enhancements with this. Now we actually have the ability that COSI is enabled on lists within Koha. Prior to the 1711, I want to say it was just maybe Amazon covers were coming over. And now if a library uses our COSI server, you would get both included Amazon, Google, and Open Books, I want to say. So it will look at all three of those providers for a cover versus just one provider. So you would have a better ability to see all the covers when you're looking at a list within Koha. Let's see how many items. Let me see this list for under planes. It's not visible here on the staff client. You would actually need to see it on the OPAC. Yes, it's a great idea. So let me go over there. Lists, planes. There you go. So now it because not every cover is found on one site. This is a great new feature. Okay. Another new feature within lists is the ability to add items to a list that don't have a barcode. So prior to the 1711 release, you could only add items to a list that had a barcode. Now over on the left, you have the ability of both adding barcodes or biblios. So biblio numbers could be added. So now if an item does not have a barcode, so maybe an electronic resource or an ebook or an e-audio book, and you still want to highlight that collection that your library pays for, this will allow you to go ahead and add it by biblio number, which is amazing. I'm so happy for that. Okay. Okay. Now I have a couple more. I'm going to go into my course reserves. Again, I'm assuming technical services may do course reserves, but I do want to touch upon as much as I can, and I want to use my time most effectively for you guys. So now, if your library uses the course reserves module, there is a new feature that when you deleted a course, there wasn't like a pop-up saying, are you sure you want to do this? And now there is. In addition to that, now it also says, hey, if you delete this course, this is the number of items attached to the course. So if I go ahead and say, we're not going to do this small plant gardening anymore, and if I hit delete course, I now have a little pop-up that says, are you sure you want to delete this course? There is one attached item. So this will be really helpful for anybody that gets rid of a course and was like, oh no, never mind, I didn't mean to do that, or there's really that many books attached to it. Maybe I should go back and check. So just a couple more alerts within each module, which I love because we don't want to make a mistake, and any pop-up would be helpful, I think. Okay, probably the one area that I think I would like to just spend just a few minutes talking about is there is a new ability to put a default replacement cost per item type, as well as a default processing fee to an item type. So if your library has a default price for, say, audiobooks, and they're all $50, now you can actually go within Koha and set that replacement price per item type. And Koha will know that's how much to charge for that item type if you go ahead and hit it, make it lost. Now, if you have a default replacement cost of, say, $50 for an audiobook, but you went out and bought I think like all those classics, Great Expectations might be more because it's long, or, it's more coveted, and that was $100. You can still put a specific items replacement cost different than the default, and that will be used versus the default. So if there is a price within that item, it will use that. If there's no replacement price, it's going to use that default item type. This enhancement came out right around 170508, so you may have noticed this within Koha. I also had a blog post done for it because I knew a lot of libraries were looking forward to this. So I'm going to show you, I'm actually in the administration portion of for item types, and I'm going to go into this audio book item type. So now I have two more fields. I have this default replacement cost, so I could go ahead and say this is every audiobook that my library has should have a default replacement cost of $50. I could also say, hey, to package my audiobooks up cost me about $8, I think, like with the binder and maybe the sleeves. You could say, yep, and there's an $8 processing fee when this item type is lost. So those are two that are for an item type specifically. Your next step that you would need to do is you would need to go into your system preferences and tell Koha to use that default replacement cost. And this one's a good one. Use default replacement cost is the system preference. So you can say, hey, Koha, yes, use it or don't use it. So you need to make sure if this is something you're looking to do, you would need to make sure that this system preference is set to use.
Kelly, we've had a couple of questions, people asking the same question. That is not branch specific. That is for the entire system, correct?
It depends. If your branch is all using the same item type, yes. If you had different item types per branch, then no. As well as you could say use default replacement cost, yes. But again, if you had other item types that weren't part of a branch, like I know libraries have specific item types per branch, then it would be different. So it could be yes and it could be no. But if you all shared the same item types, yes. In addition to the replacement cost, there is also the ability to set kind of a note if you decide to use that processing fee. So then you could add some verbiage to the patron's bill to say why that processing fee is set. So that is another system preference called processing fee note. And you could go ahead and say, and this will actually show up on the patron's account. So again, this is for default replacement costs, and you could still set a specific item a different cost, and Koha will look at the item specific replacement cost before it looks at the default. And maybe I'll grab that blog post and put that in chat as well if you wanted some more details, because it's definitely spelled out, but because there's a lot of moving parts within this system enhancement. Okay, well, that kind of wraps up what I had for technical services. Did anyone have any questions as I talked and now you're thinking about them, or just looking for that blog post? There it is. Because I would love to help. I had, okay, there's that blog post that kind of goes through all the steps. Can you pull up a serial subscription with something in the date published text column? Sure, I sure can. Date published text column. If I receive it. Would you like me to show you what this looks like here? Okay, May. So let's see. Are you looking at the subscription summary? I can see it here. I put that on number 4. I can go to 4. So I can see it here, and then I'm going to go to 4 because that's the subscription I edited. I can go to my issues. There's my published date text. I can go to my biblio. I don't see my text anywhere in here. Okay, if you have another question, Joe, let me know. Nancy, does it show in the OPAC? In cereals, is there a way to make the vendor show in the source field for each added item and cost of replacement? I don't believe so, Nancy. Is this the one I received? Yep. It does not appear to show in the OPAC, Joe, if that's what you're looking for. Oh, I'm covering up her question. But the month would be something that can be handled in the numbering pattern. Yes, correct. Absolutely. I don't believe it does show, the vendor will show at all in the cereal holding, Nancy, or the cost of the replacement. There is a way to, within the vendors, you can see if a vendor has cereals attached, I want to say, but other than that, you can't see the other way around. Any other questions? Okay, I'll clear these questions. Anybody else? Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. I hope you can attend a, another question. You mentioned running a report to find broken links in the 776. Is there a report like that for bibliographic records that are linked to authority records that no longer exist? I believe there is, Joe. Let me look into that and I can definitely email it to you. Again, this is a recorded webinar. I'm going to have another technical services webinar, I believe, next week. And you can certainly have your colleagues come. And I will find out answers to the questions that were given. I will add Georgia's little jQuery to the website as well as any other questions that a lot of people had questions for. Susan, you got it. Oh, Susan. Okay. Any other questions? I love we went right up to an hour. Okay, well, I'm going to stop my recording. If anyone has any questions, you can, as always,